In the Calvin Klein's iconic advertising campaign from 1992, Mark Wahlberg, at the height of 5 feet 8 inches, only weighed 165 pounds, perfectly cut with very good proportions. In particular, his well-developed deltoid muscles only intensified the impression of fullness in all of the upper half. Thanks to that, his greatly separated and symmetrical chest, with a very visible gap in the medial section, looked bigger, just like his biceps and triceps. His body fat percentage was low enough for his six-pack to be clearly visible, or even the abdominal oblique muscles. At the same time, he was tall enough to not look like a bodybuilder. He sported a physique that seemed natural or achievable to most of us, just perfect to be shown on the beach. In terms of the numbers alone, especially today, these are not impressive enough to leave a major impression on anyone, especially in a community with such warped perception as ours. In the world of social media and instant transformations, the youngest generation often seems to believe that such results could be achieved in a few months, a year, tops. Nevertheless, Wahlberg's appearance during that session could have left an impact on us that exceeds even that of Z's. It caused millions of men to start storming the gyms just so they could look like him by next summer. And that's not all. Even today, on bodybuilding forums or sub-forums dedicated to this topic, it is easy to run into beginners who set Wahlberg's 1992 physique as a goal of their workouts. So, if even today, in the era when even just the natty has 17 inches in his arm and presses 350 pounds, we can still run into such opinions, just imagine what an incredible impression he must have left back in '92, when not everyone worked out at the gym, and guys were overall much skinnier, and not many people sported physiques that we would describe as athletic today. Back in the day, the definition of a good physique just meant being tall and not being overweight. Any extra muscle mass instantly made the exerciser stand out from the crowd. In a way, Wahlberg changed that perception of male body for good and popularized the male pursuit of perfect looks in mass media. Being an icon back in his days, he also indirectly made the romantic life more difficult to the younger generations by raising the bar significantly. In order to see how the pop culture has changed, all we have to do is check the advertising campaigns of fashion brands 30 years later. These days, not just Calvin Klein, but also other fashion brands compete with each other in, let's say, an innovative approach to the existing beauty and attractiveness standards. And although some campaigns regularly feature the Kardashians, for example, it is getting more and more rare to see athletic young guys and run-of-the-mill attractive women. The average body mass of a model, regardless of their sex and preferred pronouns, has multiplied noticeably. As a simple example, the rapper and plus-size model performing under the nickname Chica weighs more than twice as much as young Kate Moss, who appeared before the same camera in '92, together with the above-described Mark Wahlberg. However, I'm not going to repeat myself again here about the dangers of promoting obesity and excess weight. Just like we do not advertise bulimia and anorexia, we cannot allow for the acceptance of eating disorders from the other end of the spectrum. Plenty of internet users also point to the product line itself and its novel ideas, such as the unisex bras, promoted here by biological men. Because, contrary to the first associations many of you may have, it's not about a new standard of masculinity, but more about a lack thereof. Becoming popular are models who consciously give up on the existing standards, including transgender models or those who don't identify with any gender. Corporations are quick to pick up lucrative trends. All over the world, people want tolerance, and they're also willing to pay more for products they can identify with. In a way that could explain the abundance of rainbow flags on products by brands that haven't particularly identified with this movement before, or still rely on slave labor in third world countries. Under the guise of ideals, they'll make tons of cash on gullible consumers. The reverse trend can only be observed on the other side of the curtain, like in Russia, where the very word tolerance doesn't necessarily give good connotations. The campaigns themselves are also becoming more and more daring. Calvin Klein's last year's Mother's Day campaign featured a duo that was pretty unorthodox for our local standards: a pregnant trans man with his trans woman partner. The participants were an actual couple, the expecting Robert Beta and Erica Fernandez, thus causing stir, surprise, and a whole lot of resounding outcry in the conservative circles all over the world. In response, a large part of internet users started posting hateful comments, which also included the hashtag boycott Calvin Klein, which encouraged to stop any kind of promotion of the brand. Calvin Klein's representatives addressed the whole commotion by commenting that the company tolerates everything except for intolerance. They also decided to delete hateful comments which incited hate and violence. My comparison of these two worlds may seem a little biased to some. So far, I've presented the Wahlberg session in a pretty positive light, while also putting an emphasis on the promotion of harmful standards in the new ones. And the session with Kate Moss has a lot of dark and unpleasant aspects to it, because at the end of the day, it wasn't just about her aesthetics, which, as I've already mentioned, are timeless. At the time, Kate Moss was just entering the big world of modeling, and the session's erotic, pretty much hypersexualizing tone had a significant impact on its reception. Men wanted to look like Wahlberg, not just for themselves. This only solidified the belief functioning in certain circles to this day that extensive muscle mass is the key to attracting the opposite sex. A muscular physique is without a doubt an age-old synonym of male attractiveness. Before that, however, the bodybuilding adepts fascinated with Arnold's aesthetics mainly focused on developing the body, which was a goal in itself. They built fitness, strength, character, and of course, the muscle mass. The Klein's campaign carried a different message, that you work out so you can sleep with women, that a muscular body, designer clothes, and a slightly smug style is what women want. In reality, the session itself was a traumatic experience for Kate Moss, during which her boundaries were violated multiple times. And before someone in the comments starts downplaying her experiences, I'd like to just remind that Moss was a teenager at the time, and the way older men treated women was usually how you wouldn't want your sister or daughter to be treated. I also don't want to polarize the society in terms of the attitudes towards sexual minorities. There is more people of a different orientation at our gyms than we could think. We all like to exercise just the same, and we all get screwed over by the inflation and the corporations just the same. Stirring up hate towards other, regular people is simply pointless. Sadly, there are extremities and radicals on both sides, and they ruin the PR for their entire groups. Seeing the huge impact that fashion brands have on the pop culture, however, I can't help but wonder what its further evolution and the reality of future generations will be like. Because if the trend of selling everything with a picture of a naked lady, which started in the early 90s, is still doing well to this day, then what will the advertisements for cement mixers or car repair shops will be like 30 years from now? Will the women featured on the billboards advertising these services 30 years from now simply be on a permanent bulking season, or are they more likely to show off their long hair on their backs? Vladislava Galigan is a woman whose muscle mass could make more than one man jealous. At the same time, she was able to maintain delicate, feminine facial features, unlike many of her stage friends, who often have a strong masculine shape of their face due to large doses of steroids. How is it possible for her to avoid this? Check out her story that I will discuss in the suggested video. This was Steel Shock. Until next time.